Hey, so I was looking at your paper and you thought I was cheating because my handwriting is super inconsistent? Yeah, but also I overuse commas and have a ton of run-on sentences. Yeah, and why'd you never use semicolons? Yeah, I'm scared of them. Yeah, but at least you mastered the MLA format. No, I was actually gonna say your writing is really good. Oh, thanks.
When it's time to go to sleep, take yourself to a cool, dark place free of distractions to allow your mind and body to settle into the night. I always love this type of advice because it's like, when it's time to go to sleep, go to sleep. I've mentioned before that this is already going to be hard for us because our circadian rhythm is off from the rest of the world. But at least for me, I think there's another element to this, which is the same way it's really hard to focus on a conversation or a lecture or whatever. If I'm not fidgeting with something, it's hard for me to fall asleep if I'm not passively, unconsciously consuming some sort of input, media, etc. Instead of no stimulation, at bedtime, try switching to passive stimulation. This means putting away anything that requires your direct involvement to keep it going. So your phone, games, etc., that will keep you awake. Instead, find a podcast you like, put on YouTube or TV. Reading sometimes works, etc. This gives your mind something to focus on, but because it doesn't require direct engagement, it allows you to fall into a sleep state.
What the hell time do you get up?
About like 4:45.
What time do you go to bed?
9:30.
Guess there's no lonely nights if you're going to bed at 9.
Yeah, go to bed early.
Right.
What are you
Not
awake
missing
for?
nothing.
I'm up just thinking about life.
What is there to think about at that time?
Everything bad that's ever happened.
Feeling like a saggy, massive sack of shit.
Catch the motivation. That is a new phrase I'm going to use to describe what it's like to try and be productive with an ADHD brain. It's like a video game where a moment of motivation pops up like a bubble, and you have to quickly catch it before it disappears because it might pop at any second. This feeling of motivation to start a task will sometimes only last 2 minutes, and if you try and start it after the 2 minutes is up, it's nearly impossible because then you feel paralyzed from taking action. Essentially, you're racing against the clock to get started. Once you do get started, you're kind of on a roll, and maybe you're able to keep going or task hop. I think the key here is to keep task hopping, so whatever pulls your attention, to go with it within reason, just to keep that momentum going. Because when you take a moment to sit down, an hour will magically pass. I found a trick that works for me, and it's to do the things that are closest to me proximity-wise, and to do the things that I want to do the most, and see where it leads me, guilt-free.
These rich niggas throwing paper. Now it's time for circulating. It's time for the circulating. It's time for the circulating. I'ma shake my mama game. I'ma shake my money, baby. It's time for the circulating.
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt.
I have the high ground.
I have crippling depression.
I have the power of God and anime on my side.
Hey, what do you want to eat? I don't think I believe in food. Food is not something you can not believe in. It's a fact. Not only is it a fact, but you have to actually eat to survive. Ugh, who made these rules? No one made the rules. It's just about having a body. But nothing sounds good. You still have to eat, even when stuff doesn't sound good. Can't I just wait until I'm nearly starving and I can't think straight? It's my usual plan. No, because then you make horrible choices and you eat stuff that makes your stomach hurt, and which is not very nourishing. Meh, I'm okay with that. Oh, geez, just go to the fridge and pick something. The fridge feels very far away, and I feel certain there's nothing exciting in there. Come on, just choose something easy, put something in your mouth, and it'll kick in and you'll start to feel hungry. Okay, fine.
Ever seen a ghost? I was over on the bench. I was over on the bench. I was over on the bench. I was sitting over on the bench. I was over on the bench. I made a salad with craisins. Hello, I'm Chip Mulaney. I'm your father. But sometimes he would be gay. Ever been to the goddamn zoo? I used to smoke crack. What's yesterday? Shut up, you're all gonna die. Street smarts. Boom, orange juice. That's life. Now I've thrown him off his rhythm. Give us some money! Stay down on the ground. Stay down on the ground, you motherfucker. Do my friends hate me, or do I just need to go to sleep? But why don't we just tell our relatives that I'm a 4-year-old boy? Hey, do you want me to kill that guy for you? I am now gross. And watch this. I'm putting wires into a board filled with holes to move the voices around.
If you have ADHD, you probably know that a lack of impulse control is a symptom of ADHD. The problem with talking about impulsivity, especially as it's described in the diagnostic criteria for ADHD, is that it's basically describing a little kid messing around in the back of the classroom. And while yeah, things like talking over people or blurting out your answer are still things that are affected by impulse control, as adults the problems tend to get a lot more serious. Compulsive spending and over shopping, binge eating, overuse of drugs and alcohol, issues with gambling. Every single one of those things that I just named has been studied by ADHD researchers, and all of them have higher rates in the ADHD population than they do in the neurotypical population. A lack of impulse control isn't just forgetting to raise your hand in class. A lack of impulse control can ruin your life, and I wish more people understood that.
So what you're telling me is that everybody doesn't have like the background, middle ground, and foreground thought. They don't have like multiple internal monologue. They don't have like this is the I'm in control of internal monologue with the intrusive thoughts internal monologue, and then the internal monologue that reminds you that you're having those intrusive thoughts when your foreground one is like, I'm not thinking about that stuff, and then this one is like, yeah, you are, and then this one is just, it keeps feeding them in. So that's not everybody.
One thing I've noticed about how people talk about ADHD is oftentimes we talk in outcomes rather than causes. For example, people oftentimes talk about procrastination as being a symptom of ADHD, which then opens the floodgates to a lot of neurotypical people misdiagnosing themselves online with ADHD, saying, oh, I procrastinate all the time. So I just wanted to take this time to explain the difference between procrastination and ADHD paralysis, which is really what's happening. They might look the same. It's someone putting off a task. But the main difference is that when someone procrastinates, which ADHD people can do as well, but it's also neurotypical people do it, it's that they don't want to do the task. So you procrastinate something because either it's something that like takes too long or something that you don't want to do, but either way you're putting it off because in the moment you don't want to deal with it. Thus lies the crux of the difference between procrastination and ADHD paralysis, because when someone has ADHD paralysis, it looks like they're putting off a task because they don't want to do it, but in fact, they really want to do it. What's happening is actually a processing disorder. So it's where we don't know or can't picture or can't think through the steps needed to complete that task. So the cause is incredibly different, even though the output might be the same, which is someone's putting off a task. So a perfect example of this is my entire life, my room was messy. I always put off cleaning my room, and people just assumed that I was like naturally a really messy person. And I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was 21. So I always just sort of got down on myself. I had a lot of shame about my mess. And it wasn't until I was hired, ironically, as a housekeeper, a house cleaner for vacation homes, when I had this realization, and that was post-diagnosis. What happened is with house cleaning, they give you this incredibly succinct and clear steps needed to clean a house. So it's like, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this. You have all the supplies. It's so structured that it took me 2 houses before I had it completely down pat. And it was like so predictable that I knew exactly how to clean a house. I took that strategy home because I only could process how to clean in one way, which is this way that I had just been taught. And I cleaned not only my house that way, but like when I would go over to my then partner's house, I would like turn down his bed the same way. Like I became like so competent with cleaning because I had been given a pathway on how to complete the task, and then I didn't put it off anymore. That's super different. And so when people come on here oftentimes and watch a lot of ADHD TikToks and we talk about things in terms of output, I think it can be really confusing for folks. So I just wanted to really lay out why it's the processing, the executive function that's actually being the cause of the output, which is putting something off. Everyone procrastinates. ADHD people have ADHD paralysis.
Do you know how wonderfully fantastic you are? You're better than my morning coffee. You're like the hidden curly fry at the bottom of my order of regular fries. Curly fries. You're such a strong little biscuit that if I dunked you in my tea, you'd never break. Every time I see you, it's the same feeling as finding money in the pocket of an old pair of trousers. If I was a dog, you would be my ride in the car. You activate my geek grin. You put stars in my optical peepers. You make my heart do that weird little fluttery thing that I love so much. You're my serotonin machine. You deliver enjoyment to my life like some sort of happy little flesh parcel with same-day delivery. You're just a fabulous squish bean. You keep being your strange but marvelous self, because this world would be pretty damn boring without you.
ADHD people, I have a riddle for you. What is the one thing that all ADHD people need, but none of them have? It's hydration. None of us have it, and you all need to go drink some water right now.